Boston bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev guilty on all 30 counts, and 17 of those counts carry the death penalty. Jurors meet this month to decide, does he live or does he die? Here's what one of the victims had to say about the verdict.
I think it was a relief to hear for the first time, instead of the alleged Boston bomber, he was the Boston bomber. And he needs to be held accountable for his actions, and I feel like that's going to happen.
All rise. Judge Andrew Napolitano is here. Judge, we always ask you for a legal opinion or a constitutional opinion. Would you forgive me if this morning I ask you for a personal opinion? Should this guy live or die?
Oh, my. Look, he is clearly a candidate for execution under the law, and this is clearly the type of crime for which the Congress has prescribed the death penalty, and the state has proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty. The question is, which is the more appropriate punishment? Living 450 feet below the surface of the earth in obviously a windowless 6x8 cement shell and never seeing the light of day for the rest of his life, or a painless and quick dispatch to the next world. My own view is that the life sentence would be the more appropriate sentence here. But this is not a case, Stuart, where the jury is going to sit around in a room and say, how much do we hate him? How much damage did he do? How horrible a person was he? The court is going to give them guidelines, questions that the Congress has put in the statute that they will be required to answer. Questions about the severity of his behavior, called the aggravating factors. Questions about the mitigating factors. What was going on between his ears? Was he really under duress? Was someone really more culpable than he? And then they have to weigh all those factors and make a decision. Now, my own view, to get to your question, is that once a person has been restrained, captured, he's no longer a danger, and the government loses its ability to kill him. The government tried to kill him 100 times. They fired 100 shots at him while he was in that boat. At that time, he was armed and dangerous. It would have been lawful, appropriate, constitutional, and moral to have killed him. Once they took him into custody, they gave away that opportunity.
Quick legal point, if I may. Tsarnaev's lawyer is a very famous lawyer who has represented other very well-known criminals in the past. I think she represented the Unabomber, Eric Rudolph,
yes,
the abortion doctor murderer, and Susan Smith, who drove her minivan into a lake to kill her 2 young children. That lawyer has represented all of those 3 people and got them off the death penalty. Do you think the same? I mean, she's a very effective lawyer.
Yes.
Will she plead her case in court in the sentencing phase?
She's probably the most effective, certainly the best known capital punishment defense lawyer in the country. And, you know, lawyers specialize in everything these days, Stuart. Her specialty is getting the admittedly guilty off, people as to whom the evidence of guilt is clearly overwhelming. She has a little bit of a leg up here. She has a population base from which the jury came profoundly against the death penalty. Even after he was convicted yesterday, the eastern part of Massachusetts, a poll showed only 25% of the people living there wanted to see him executed. She also has a person on the jury who said at the time of the jury interrogation that she, the juror, was against the death penalty. The government did not object to putting her on the jury. So that woman sits on the jury. She will argue that somebody else was more culpable. That's a rational argument, that the brother was more culpable. She'll argue duress. She's going to have to put expert testimony on there to show that. She'll argue mental incapacity. And then she'll get an instruction from the judge. And that instruction will tell the jurors, if you find he was under duress, if you find somebody else was more culpable, if you find that he never fully actually agreed to the horrific ends that he brought about, you should take into account that those mitigating factors might outweigh the aggravating.
Quickly, Judge, I think that the next argument is going to be about whether it is cruel and unusual to put a very young man underground in a supermax prison in a windowless cell for the rest of his life. I think there will be an argument. Is that cruel and unusual punishment? Is it justified? I think that's the next argument.
Well, that will not be an argument in this case.
Right.
That argument would had to have been made before the trial started, because the government needs to know before it puts its first witness on the stand. The trial started in January. We're now in April. Whether or not the death penalty is available. That is not an argument that can be made now. She may have made that argument. I don't know. The Supreme Court has drawn the line at about 18. I say about because some people are older than 18 and have the mental capacity of a child, and some people are younger than 18 and have the mental capacity of an adult. So the rule of thumb is 18. It would be far too late for his lawyer to make that argument at this stage.
All right. Judge, thank you very much for joining us. You're on special report tonight, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
You know, I'll watch. Okay, Judge Andrew Napolitano.
Very generous, Stuart.
What a guy. See you later, Judge. Thank you.